7 special of Christleton's BBC Young Reporter. We're Lily and Grace, and some of our news stories today include knife crime and why it's on the rise, International Women's Day, the impact of social media on a young person's mental health, Comet Relief 2019, Greta Thunberg and her environmental protests. And now over to Douglas and Harry with their report on knife crime.
I'm Douglas.
I'm Harry.
And we're here to report about knife crime. There's been an increase in knife crime across the country, especially urban areas like London and Manchester. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner Cressida Dick claims that it is linked to a decrease in police officers. Theresa May says there's no direct correlation.
2 17-year-olds have been killed just this weekend. Jodie Chesney was killed in a park while playing music with friends, while Youssef Galeb Maki was stabbed to death in the small village of Haley Barnes. One man has been arrested in conjunction with the murder of Jodie Chesney. 2 men have been arrested on charge of having a bladed article and the assault of Youssef Maki.
Many officials claim these murders may be related to gangs. Some have already been linked to them, like the attack at Runshaw College, where a machete was found. Most assailants knew their victims, with Jodie Chesney being an exception.
The murderers has been described as appalling by Theresa May. Jeremy Corbyn says young people shouldn't pay the price for austerity with their lives. He also criticised Theresa May for claiming that a decrease in police officers is not linked to the crimes.
Robert Bragg claims he started due to peer pressure. Started carrying a knife when I was 12 years old, because everyone was doing it at the time. To fit in, you had to do certain things, so I started stabbing people, he told reporters. He believes a tougher sentence would have stopped him.
The homicide rate in England and Wales at its highest rate for a decade. Knife attacks have risen by 12% in last year. The NHS reports treating the double knife wounds for people at and under the age of 16. Now an interview with Miss Boland, a PHSE teacher.
What do you think about knife crime?
I think knife crime is something that is really terrible, and people don't think about the other victims that are involved, so not just those that have been hurt by the knives or wounded or even killed, but also the innocent families are affected as well. It's a terrible crime.
Do you think the government is doing enough to stop it?
No, I don't. In fact, I think the government have gone the opposite way, because funding to police forces have gone down. It also correlates with knife crime going up. So because there are less police force on the ground being able to fight crimes, more crimes have been committed because of that.
What more could they do?
Okay, so funding needs to happen in the police force then, so that the crimes can be fought. Also, there needs to be some help with gang members who are involved in knife crimes, because that's really common. So maybe more youth clubs and people just being helped and supported coming off the streets, so they're not involved in gangs, they're involved in better pursuits.
What could schools do to stop it?
So schools could help maybe run some of these sorts of clubs and activities for young people. They could help maybe give counselling to those who are involved in knife crime, or they've heard of something and they need some help. They can also teach it in PSE lessons, so people are understanding a little bit more about it and why it's happening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
The Battle Never Won or Lost by Hannah, Ella, Ebony, Abby and Isla. From Emily in Pankhurst to Coco Chanel, many women have risked their positions, social standing and even their own lives to get the rights that many were not born with. Women have been put down for many years, so today we will be looking at women's rights throughout history.
Although they faced many hardships along the way, they persevered through creating a pathway for generations to come. Now let's interview Miss Olenek about the history behind the great feat that changed history.
We are here today with Miss Olenek, one of our school's history teachers and feminists, to talk about the history of suffragettes and the impact of the battle of equality in our modern day-to-day lives. So Miss Olenek, do you think that equality will ever be won, with the payroll of women being a lot lower than men, and the fact that men are still higher in society?
I think that definitely it will be eventually. I think there's a lot that needs to be done. First of all, it's quite a few years, I think, until we get to that point. It isn't a myth, it is real, and I think that's what's important to recognise first of all. But a lot of jobs, management jobs and higher up jobs and those kind of things definitely need more female role models and more women going into those kind of professions and breaking the glass ceiling and getting above that and just trying to get into those kind of careers and encouraging women to do that kind of thing. And with that, eventually, I think equal pay will eventually come.
And going back to the suffragettes, is there anything that you can tell us about the history side of feminism?
Yeah, I think with the suffragettes, you've got the suffragettes, but you also got to remember it's not all men who are against women having the right to vote. Some men actually supported it as well and supported their women doing so. And I think that's really important that we have today, that we have both men and women both wanting equality for both genders. And I think that's what the suffragettes trying to show. It's opening it, encouraging it from everybody in society and women speaking out for other women as well. And I think that's really important, that it's doing it for the whole of society rather than just one particular gender.
And what do you think about stereotypical jobs and our response to them? For example, the cast of Emmerdale are doing all-female show this Friday. How do you think this comes across in different perspectives?
I think as there's still a lot of inequality, there is still some way to go, and I think it's still important to have all-female things sometimes. So when it comes to things like, for example, it gives women a voice. So I'm also a leader for Girl Guides, and I'm also a member of a women's mountain bike club. And I think it's important just for to be all women sometimes, because it gives women the confidence to do things that they maybe wouldn't normally if men were there. And I think that's important. With being Girl Guides, it still remains just girls, and I know that Scouts has got boys in it, but I think it's really important to have girls, to give them that confidence, to give them that voice, and for them to be able to do different things and maybe that they wouldn't otherwise. And I think there is still inequality there, and that's why you need these separate things. With stereotyping, I think stereotyping is completely wrong, because I'm a woman and I mountain bike, I do all sorts of different hobbies. I face sexism in some of those areas, but you've just got to persevere and carry on, because otherwise how will you ever change anything?
And finally, what advice would you give to yourself at our age about standing up as an empowering female?
I think if I was your age, I was really shy, I lacked in confidence, and I wish I'd just done more things. I wish I'd have thought less about what people think of me and just done it anyway, just done what I enjoy, and just persevered with things. So definitely, if you're happy and you're enjoying doing something and you want to do something, don't let anybody tell you it's for boys or tell you you can't, and don't worry so much about what other people think.
And back to I.
Thank you, Miss Olenek. In conclusion, we must be forever grateful for those who believe that women aren't meant to be kept at home, but can be out in the world doing things that matter. Like Eleanor Roosevelt said, do one thing every day that scares you. Many have used this as inspiration, for example, the Fearless Girls statue in New York or the Suffragette tribute in London. It proves how amazing it is and how we will forever be in their debt. Thank you and goodbye.
At school to ask teachers what they will do for comic relief.
Okay, I'll be watching the show and I'll be texting in a donation for about £10.
For comic relief, I will be watching the show on television. If there is a cake sale in school, I will buy cakes. I will purchase a mug from Sainsbury's for drinking my coffee.
Comic relief.
Well, I love comic relief, and I will choose to donate this year via our cake sale at Christleton High School.
Thank you. Comic relief.
So this year I always watch comic relief and enjoy watching it with my family at home, and I'll probably text in and donate some money. But also I was in Asda last night and I bought my little boy the comic relief t-shirt, so he'll be wearing that for school.
Hello, I'm Lily. And I'm Grace. And today we're going to be talking about Greta Thunberg and her political acts to stop global warming and climate change. She's a 16-year-old girl. Although she's from Sweden, she is still protesting for things she believes in and that should be noticed all around the globe. She has said things like, "You say you love your children above all else, but yet you are stealing their future in front of their very eyes," which has made a huge political impact. Greta has attended the UN Climate Change Conference and is the unexpected founder for the International Youth Movement. She went on strike from school to protest her thoughts outside of the Swedish Parliament building. This caused a bit of a controversy because to protest she missed school. Some people thought this wasn't okay, but most people thought this was perfectly fine and supported her completely. She has been protesting since August of 2018, and after that she decided she wouldn't go back to school.
When she attended the UN conference, she called out all the statesmen and dignitaries in the room for not being mature enough to tell it like it is, and everyone there was 3 or 4 times her age.
She said that she didn't think any adults cared about the next generation, including her, because they are polluting what will be our oceans when they aren't here anymore, and she found that unfair.
Since her movement, scientists have just announced that the oceans are warming 40% quicker than what was originally thought.
Greta Thunberg got her parents to completely stop eating meat and stop using air travel. This was quite hard because they ate a lot of meat and flew quite regularly.
We are now here with Catherine, who is a Year 9 pupil in our school and is passionate about reducing the damage being done to our environment.
What do you do actively to help the environment?
I recycle at my house and I attend anti-fracking campaigns in Preston to stop the fracking that's currently going on there. Do you feel inspired by the protests of Greta Thunberg? Oh, definitely. She's definitely got a really valid point, and it's so current in the modern media about global warming and climate change, and I think she needs more publicity so that more people know what she's fighting for.
She missed school to protest against this and inspired other young activists to do the same. What are your views on this?
Well, I don't condone missing school, but I think that it's creating publicity for her, which is what she really needs, and that more people need to listen in and start recycling and doing green things for the environment.
Thank you very much, Catherine. That's all for now. Goodbye.
Hello, I'm Rose.
Oh, and I'm Sophie. Today we're going to be discussing the mental health of teenagers.
Recently, emergency services have said that they get orange calls about mental health every week. The ambulance services, police, and the Southern Eastern Trust have joined up to try and handle some calls differently.
Yes, the idea is that instead of having police officers to take you to the emergency services, there would be on-the-spot treatment to prevent more distress.
We're interviewing Miss Cowley on how body image is and how you see yourself can affect mental health. We will also be asking her. We'll also be asking how what school children see from celebrities that can affect them.
So how much can your view on your physical image affect your mental health?
I think it's a huge impact. It has a huge impact on how you see yourself, and you as young people nowadays with social media, and we were talking a lot about Instagram in particular, pieces of social media that are purely photo based, and very much this is the era of the selfie. Students, like teenagers these days, are looking at their own physical appearance a lot more than I think we used to. So I think that can make you very self-conscious, especially in a climate where there's a lot of cyberbullying that goes on, and it's very easy for people to, pick holes or make fun of people's appearance. So yeah, I think it's really something that is much more prevalent these days.
A lot of young people suffer from anorexia, depression, and many other mental health issues. What do you think can be done in schools to help?
I think in schools, really there should be a lot of focus on body positivity, because I don't think that you'll get a lot of it online. As I was saying with things like the social media, there's things like apps like Facetune, and there's the culture of photoshopping your own pictures, because people feel there's pressure to sort of look a certain way and touch at the photos so they look how they're supposed to look online. I think increasingly there just needs to be a climate of people like encouraging positivity about how they look, and encouraging that beauty and physical appearance doesn't have to be one way to be right or be attractive.
During Paris Fashion Week, Zendaya's show was modelled by coloured models, including plus-size models and models aged up to 70. Do you think that helps some people? Do you think that something this diverse with such iconic celebrity can maybe help some young people?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, the idea of that show, because there's like several things that come up with women's issues. One is that women are under pressure to look young all the time and look permanently young. They're supposed to be slim, and you know, certainly in terms of, you know, beauty, often, like, you know, white women are represented more so than women of different ethnicities. So I think to have that kind of diversity and to say that beauty doesn't look one certain way. I know we were talking briefly about the Barbie culture we used to have and Barbie and Cindy culture we used to have a few years ago, where a tall, slim, blonde white woman was the image of what a beautiful woman should be, and that was the only image. And now they have like diverse Barbies. They have Barbies in different shapes and sizes and different ethnicities. So yeah, I think things like that are very positive. And I think the celebrities like Zendaya, who probably have a huge young fan base, that's a great example to be setting.
Finally, in 2018, 75% of people with mental health issues weren't receiving the right treatment. Why do you think this is, and do you think this has improved?
I think it's still got a long way to go. I think it's one of those things that we need to make more time for in things like a school day, for example. I know we were talking in a different interview, we were talking about mindfulness and making sure that people have got time in a stressful school day. So there is a lot of pressure on your education, a lot of pressure on results, to also make sure you're looking after your mental well-being as well. So I think we do need to have more initiatives like mindfulness in schools.
Thanks for watching this year's BBC Young Reporter.